She told the world I walked away. But she never told them why she stood on that stage, holding her Courage Through Trauma award, tears streaming down her face, and said, "My father abandoned me when I was 15. I never saw him again. He left me with nothing but broken promises and bruises on my heart." The crowd erupted into applause. They believed every word, every tear, every dramatic pause. And in that moment, right there under those glowing lights, my daughter rewrote history. And the world applauded her for it. The story she told them was compelling, tragic, viral-worthy. She posted about it on TikTok, on Instagram, even did a podcast interview titled "When Your Hero Becomes a Villain." I watched it all unfold from my quiet two-bedroom apartment 900 miles away. Alone. Not because I wanted to be, but because she made sure I stayed that way. Let me tell you the truth. Not the version she sold to strangers. The truth that's uglier, harder to hear, and much harder to forget. Because I never abandoned my daughter. She erased me, and now I'm about to take my name back. Her name is Ava, and once upon a time, she was everything to me. I raised her alone from the age of 6. Her mother left us, not with a bang, not even a note. Just a voicemail and an empty closet. I was working 2 jobs, mornings at the auto shop, evenings doing security. Life was chaotic, messy, and honestly, a blur. But every night, I tucked Ava into bed, kissed her forehead, and told her, "You are my greatest thing." And I meant it. She was bright, curious, always asking questions, always watching. But around 13, something started to shift. It began with small lies. Skipping class, missing curfew. Then came the friends. Loud, older, always around when I wasn't home. And then came her. Chloe, a new friend, 17. Tattoos, attitude, and an appetite for chaos. I tried to be firm, but I was also afraid. Afraid if I pushed too hard, I'd lose the only person I had left. But I didn't lose her because I was too strict. I lost her because someone else was feeding her a different story about me. One where I was the villain. One night, I came home from work to find Ava gone. Her bedroom stripped, no note, no call. Just a photo posted to her Instagram with the caption, "Free." At first, I panicked. Called hospitals, friends, even the police. Filed a missing persons report. I thought something had happened to her. It had, but not the way I feared. 3 days later, a social worker knocked on my door. Calm, casual, and told me Ava was safe, living with family friends, that she didn't want contact, that she had filed for emancipation at 15. "She says you're emotionally abusive," the social worker said, "that she felt unsafe in your home." I felt like someone had gutted me on the spot. Abusive? Unsafe? I hadn't even raised my voice in months. But the courts didn't care. Not with her carefully rehearsed story. Not when she looked them dead in the eye and cried about a father who controlled her every move. No one asked me what really happened. No one wanted the full picture. They just nodded and signed the papers. And just like that, she was gone. I tried to move on. I stopped following her online, stopped asking around, stopped hoping. But life has a cruel way of making the past come knocking. A year ago, my coworker Jim sent me a video link. "Is this your daughter?" he asked. It was a TED-style youth conference. Ava was the keynote speaker. She walked on stage to thunderous applause, spoke with a confidence I barely recognized. "My name is Ava, and I survived being raised by a man who never wanted me to succeed." She painted me as a paranoid, controlling ex-cop who hated women and crushed her dreams. She said I never let her have friends, that I sabotaged her college applications, that I told her she'd never be anything without me. Lie after lie, layered with just enough truth to make it feel real. I didn't sleep that night, because this wasn't just a personal betrayal anymore. She was rewriting the narrative of my life, feeding it to an audience, and branding me forever as a monster. And she was doing it beautifully. Every word was rehearsed. Her voice cracked at the right times. Her eyes filled with tears just as she quoted her darkest nights. "He never hit me," she said. "But sometimes the absence of love hurts worse than violence." People cried. The comments were full of praise. "She's so brave. Thank you for speaking your truth. What a survivor." But none of them knew what she had really survived. None of them knew what I had survived. They didn't know about the years I spent scraping together money for her violin lessons, about the times I ate ramen so she could have new shoes for school, about the night I worked a double shift while she threw a party and totaled my car. And I still took the blame when the cops showed up. They didn't know any of it, because I never told my side. Until now. She took my voice. So I let the evidence speak. I didn't react right away. I didn't post a rebuttal, didn't comment on her videos, and didn't even try to contact her. You see, when someone paints you as a monster, the worst thing you can do is roar. Because then all they hear is confirmation, but silence. Silence makes them uneasy. Because silence means you're planning something. And I was. Not for vengeance. For the truth. The thing about lies is they might go viral, but truth leaves a trail, and I had a long one. I started digging through my garage, box after box of dusty paperwork, school records, old calendars, and police reports. Everything I'd stored away, not because I thought I'd need it, but because I never threw anything out. That's where I found it. The handwritten letter she gave me on her 12th birthday. "You're the best dad in the world. I hope I grow up to be like you." The therapy intake form she filled out at 14, describing herself as safe, well-fed, and emotionally supported at home. The email exchange between me and her school counselor after she'd been caught lying about bullying, where she admitted she exaggerated to get attention. Receipts, dates, screenshots, truth. She said I tried to control her college future. I found copies of the 5 applications I helped pay for, and the acceptance letter she never told me about from a small art school in Oregon. The same school she later claimed I sabotaged. She never even opened the letter. I found it sealed in her old desk drawer, tucked under a broken iPhone. She said I told her she'd be nothing without me. I found a recording from her 8th grade graduation, me telling her through a shaky camcorder lens, "No matter where you go, who you become, I'll be proud of you." The internet had seen 15 minutes of curated pain. I had 15 years of proof. And yet, I still didn't know what to do with it. What kind of man fights back against his own daughter? But then came the message that changed everything. An anonymous DM. No profile photo. No name. Just one sentence. "She's done this before." Attached was a screenshot of a Reddit thread, a post from over a year ago, under an old account tied to her email address. It read, "Has anyone else exaggerated family trauma to build a brand?" I feel sick. I didn't think it'd get this far. My stomach turned. This wasn't an impulsive mistake. It wasn't a young girl lashing out. It was strategy. That's when it hit me. She didn't just delete me from her life. She replaced me with a profitable villain. And she was cashing in. Brand deals, podcast invites, speaking engagements, all built on the ashes of my reputation. So no, I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. But I wasn't going to scream either. I was going to give her what she gave me, the truth, delivered publicly and without mercy. I started small. A new YouTube channel. No face, no flashy editing, just a black screen and my voice. Calm, measured, undeniable. The first video was titled, "The Father She Erased." I didn't name her. I didn't slander. I just laid out dates, facts, and documents. I read her birthday card aloud. I showed the receipts, the therapy notes, the school emails. Each clip calmly narrated, each piece of proof surgically placed. By the time I posted part 3, my channel had 20,000 subscribers. By part 5, 200,000. The comments shifted. People started connecting dots. Some of her followers even turned on her. One wrote, "I loved Ava's story until I saw this. Now I'm not sure what to believe." Another, "This guy doesn't sound angry. He sounds heartbroken and honest." I didn't celebrate. It wasn't joy I felt. It was grief. Grief that I had to prove I loved my daughter. Grief that strangers needed evidence to believe I wasn't a monster. But grief is a teacher. And mine taught me this. Sometimes healing starts with being heard, even if you have to build the microphone yourself. She didn't respond publicly. At first, she went quiet on social media, canceled a few appearances, disabled comments on all her old videos. But silence doesn't equal surrender. It equals strategy. And I knew Ava too well. She wouldn't go down quietly. A week later, she posted a short video on her Instagram story. Black screen, white text. "Some people will go to great lengths to silence survivors. I won't be intimidated." That's when I realized she wasn't backing off. She was doubling down. I had a decision to make. Let her keep spinning the narrative, or give the public the final piece, the one I swore I'd never release. A private conversation, recorded without her knowing. From 2 years ago, the day before she left. The night she stood in our kitchen and said, "I'm going to live with Chloe. I don't care what the court says. If I tell them you hit me, they'll believe me. I'll get out." The recording was crystal clear. I'd kept it because I didn't trust Chloe. I wanted proof in case something happened. But now, that recording was the final nail. And releasing it would destroy Ava's public persona. Maybe even her life. Was I ready to do that? Was I ready to become the man she already said I was, even if I had proof to justify it? Or was there another way? A quieter kind of revenge. One that didn't just expose her, but forced her to confront herself. She went silent. So I made the world listen for weeks. I didn't upload anything. No new voice recordings, no new documents, no commentary. I wanted to see what she'd do when the spotlight wasn't on her, when the drama simmered down and the attention faded. What I saw was nothing. Ava stopped posting entirely. Her social media went dark. The inspirational quotes stopped. The podcast appearances were quietly canceled. Her merch store, which had featured shirts that read "Unheard but Unbroken," vanished overnight. It was like she disappeared. But people didn't forget. Not this time. My channel kept growing. Not because I posted more, but because viewers kept sharing the truth. Slowly, methodically, people were beginning to doubt her story. And it wasn't because I screamed louder. It was because I never lied. And the truth doesn't need to shout. But something still felt unfinished. I had exposed the lie. That much was clear. But this wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. This was about Ava, my daughter. The little girl who used to sneak into my bed after thunderstorms, who once cried because she couldn't draw a horse that looked right, who used to say, "I'm only brave when you're near." That girl was still in there, somewhere, buried under anger, pride, and whatever poison Chloe and the internet had poured into her. So I made a decision. I didn't post the recording. Instead, I wrote her a letter, not an email, not a DM, a real handwritten letter. The way I used to write when she was little, and I'd leave notes in her lunchbox. I told her the truth, that I missed her, that I never stopped loving her, even when she turned the world against me, that I knew what she did, and I forgave her anyway. I didn't ask for anything, not an apology, not a public retraction, not even a reply. I ended it with one line. If you ever want to remember who you were before all of this, I'll be at the pond. Same bench, Sundays. I mailed it, and I waited. 2 Sundays passed, nothing. Then came the third. It was late afternoon. The light filtered through the trees, casting long shadows over the water. I just finished my coffee when I saw her. Avenue standing at the edge of the trail, wearing a hoodie 2 sizes too big and sunglasses that didn't hide much. She looked smaller than I remembered, not physically, just dimmer, like the spotlight had burnt something out of her. She walked up slowly, sat down beside me, didn't say a word. I didn't either. We just sat, for maybe 10 minutes. Then, without looking at me, she said, "It's all falling apart." I stayed quiet. "I lied to everyone," she whispered. "And now, no one trusts me. Not even Chloe. She's gone too." I turned to her, but she kept staring straight ahead. Then she asked something I didn't expect. "Do you still have it?" I knew what she meant. "The recording?" She nodded. "I do," I said. She was quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, "You should have used it." I took a breath. I almost did. She looked at me, finally. "Why didn't you?" "Because I wanted her back more than I wanted revenge. Because breaking her wouldn't have healed me. Because somewhere deep down, I still saw her as my little girl. But all I said was, because I'm your father." She swallowed hard. Her lip trembled. And then she broke. Tears. Shoulders shaking. The kind of sobbing that doesn't come from guilt. It comes from relief. She cried for a long time, and I let her. Later we walked, quietly, slowly. She told me things I didn't want to hear. That Chloe encouraged the lie because it fit the brand. Once Ava saw how quickly people responded to her story, it became addictive. "They liked me more when I was broken," she said. So I stayed broken. She told me about the panic attacks, the insomnia, and the way she kept rehearsing her story so many times she almost believed it herself. I didn't interrupt. I just listened. Because that's what she needed. Not a correction. Not scolding. Just someone who remembered who she was before she learned how to lie for applause. That night, she asked me something else. "Do you think I can fix this?" I wanted to say yes. But the truth was harder. "Not everything," I said. "Some people will always remember what you said. Some won't believe you now, no matter what. That's the cost of rebuilding. You don't get to decide how long it takes." She nodded slowly. "But you can start." She asked me how, and I said the only thing I could think of. Tell the truth. Not to win people back, not to clear my name, but to free herself. She was quiet for a while, then whispered, "What if they hate me?" "They already do," I said, "and you survived that." She almost smiled. The next day she posted a video. No makeup, no background music, no edits, just Ava. She looked into the camera and said, "I lied. about my dad, about my past, about everything. She didn't defend it. She didn't soften it. She owned it. I told a lie because it made me feel powerful. I was angry, scared, and selfish. But none of that excuses what I did. My father didn't abandon me. I abandoned him. And now I'm asking him, and all of you, for forgiveness. It didn't go viral, not in the way her first video had. But the comments were real. Some were cruel, but some were forgiving. And for the first time in years, Ava didn't flinch. The truth was out, but the damage was already done. After Ava's video, there was a strange kind of silence. Not just online, in my own head too. It's hard to describe. Like standing in the middle of a battlefield after the war is over. The smoke clears, the noise fades. But you're still holding the weight of every blast. I kept expecting backlash. New rumors, maybe another attempt to twist the story. But Ava didn't backpedal. She didn't try to soften the blow with half-truths. She faced it, fully. And it cost her. She lost her sponsorships. The brand deals disappeared in a flash. A few of her followers even posted their own takedown videos, calling her a manipulator, a narcissist, a fraud. It stung to watch. Because I knew they weren't wrong, but they weren't fully right either. People love heroes. People love villains. And what they don't love is watching a villain try to become human again. And that's what Ava was trying to do. Quietly, awkwardly, without a script this time. She called me a few days later. Said she was thinking about shutting everything down, erasing her social media and disappearing for a while. I told her, that's your call. But don't do it because you're hiding. Do it because you're healing. She said she understood, but she didn't take down her channel. Instead, she rebranded it. She renamed it Starting Over. The banner was just a plain photo of a tree growing out of cracked pavement. Her first new video was 3 minutes long. No intro, no fake tears. Just her saying, I'm not here to tell stories anymore. I'm here to figure out who I am without them. It didn't blow up, it didn't trend. But the comment section was different. People wrote things like, I was mad at you. But this feels real. We all mess up. But owning it like this, that takes guts. Thank you for showing what rebuilding actually looks like. She sent me screenshots. I didn't say much. Just told her I was proud. She didn't respond right away. Then, hours later, a simple text. I never knew that mattered to me until now. Life didn't magically get better after that. It got slower, quieter. She moved into a small apartment on the east side of the city. Got a job at a bookstore, part-time, just enough to keep her afloat. We started seeing each other more. Dinners, walks, a few awkward moments, a few warm ones. One night, over cheap takeout, she asked me something that caught me off guard. Do you think Mom would have been proud of me? I froze, because the truth was, I didn't know. Her mother had been complicated, flighty, self-centered, quick to love and quicker to leave. But I saw something in Ava that I hadn't seen in years. Humility, so I told her what I believed. Number I don't think she would have understood. But I think that says more about her than it does about you. Ava looked down, then whispered, I hated her for leaving. I nodded. I know. And I hated you for staying. I didn't answer. Because sometimes honesty hurts too much to require a reply. Weeks passed. The noise died down. Ava's apology video plateaued at a few 100,000 views, a fraction of the millions she once had. But the people who stayed, they mattered more. She stopped performing, started sharing, not everything, just pieces. real ones. A blurry photo of her walking in the rain with the caption, "I used to chase storms. Now I just let them pass." A short clip of her burning her old journals, the ones filled with lies. She didn't speak in the video, just let the fire do the talking. She even asked me once if I wanted to be in one of her uploads. I said no. She understood. But a few weeks later, she posted a video anyway, without telling me. It was a slideshow, photos of me and her years back. Birthday parties, science fairs, us sitting on a bench near the pond. The last slide was a note. "You believed in me, even when I didn't deserve it. This is my thank you." It wasn't flashy. No music, no tags, no monetization. Just a daughter, telling her story again. Only this time, it was real. But healing isn't linear. One afternoon, I got a message from Ava. It just said, "They found the clip." My stomach dropped. She meant the recording, the one from the kitchen. I'd never posted it, never sent it. But somewhere along the way, someone must have leaked it. Maybe it was hacked. Maybe it was someone I shared it with early on, thinking I needed protection. Either way, it was out. The audio was spreading fast. TikTok, Reddit, YouTube shorts, clipped, edited, juiced up with dramatic music. Everyone was talking again. Suddenly, the internet turned again, this time in her favor. She admitted it herself. This recording proves she planned the whole thing. She should be in jail. Cancel her for real this time. People went from outrage to cruelty in a heartbeat. Ava called me, panicked. "What do I do? I didn't even post it. They think I'm evil. Again." I told her the truth. "Then speak it. Again." She hesitated. "But what if they don't care?" I paused, then said the only thing that mattered, "Then speak it anyway. Because this time, you're not speaking to them. You're speaking to you." Her voice was drowned. So she spoke louder than ever. Ava didn't speak for 2 days. Not online. Not to me. She disappeared again. Not the way she used to, by running off with lies and excuses. This time, it felt different. Like she was cocooning herself, trying to decide if it was worth stepping back into the fire. The leaked audio had gone viral, not in a constructive way. Clipped, sensationalized, stripped of all context. They made it sound like a criminal confession instead of what it really was. A scared teenager, bluffing her way into independence. Even the people who had started to forgive her were now split again. Some defended her, others piled on worse than before. It felt like the story had started all over again, just in reverse. This time, she was the one under fire. And this time, I was the one watching, helpless. She finally showed up at my house on the third night. Didn't knock, just let herself in the way she used to when she still had a key. Her eyes were swollen. She hadn't slept. Her voice cracked when she spoke. "They're tearing me apart." I nodded. She sat down on the couch and stared at the floor for a long time. "I'm trying to be better," she said. "But it's like they don't want that. They just want someone to throw stones at." I sat across from her, leaned forward. "They don't want better. They want a show. But you're not here to perform anymore." Her eyes flicked up. "So, what do I do?" I paused, thinking. "Take the microphone back. Tell your story again. Only this time, you don't defend the past. You define your future." The next day, she did exactly that. She posted a video called "The Truth Unclipped." No music, no editing, just her. She started by playing the leaked audio in full. Then she looked into the camera and said, "I said that." I was scared. I was 15, and I thought if I sounded tough enough, maybe someone would finally listen to me. She paused. I was wrong. Then she did something I didn't expect. She turned the camera to a printed out sheet of her own apology. Not the one from months ago. A new one. A more detailed, specific list of everything she had lied about, followed by what the truth actually was. I'm not asking you to forget, she said. I'm asking you to see me now, not who I pretended to be then. She ended with one sentence that hit me like a punch to the chest. I didn't just hurt my dad, I broke my own reflection, and now I'm picking up the pieces. It didn't go viral, and that's what made it powerful. It wasn't bait. It wasn't engineered to trend. It was real. Over the next few weeks, something strange happened. The anger faded. Not all at once, not everywhere. But people moved on. Some came back with forgiveness, others just wandered off to the next scandal. And Ava, she kept showing up, not online, in life. She volunteered at a youth center for teens struggling with mental health. Quietly, without posting about it. She asked if she could meet my sister again, the one she cut off years ago when the lie started to take shape. She even apologized to her old school counselor, who had once tried to intervene when the fabrications began. One by one, she was rebuilding. Not fame, not followers, but her soul. One evening, we sat at the pond again. Same bench, same breeze. She stared at the water for a while, then turned to me. I don't know if I'll ever get it all back. I looked at her, then back at the water. You're not supposed to. She frowned. What do you mean? You lost who you were because you thought it was broken. But maybe it was just unfinished. She thought about that, then nodded slowly. Do you ever hate me for what I did? The question caught me off guard. Not because I hadn't thought about it, but because I hadn't in a while. No, I said, but I hated what it made me think about myself. She tilted her head. I didn't understand how you could believe it, I continued. How you could look me in the eye and say those things and still sleep at night. She winced. I couldn't, she said. Not really. I know, I said, but I needed to hear that. The next day, I posted my final video. I titled it, The Last Word. It wasn't dramatic, no big reveals, just me. I told the story again, the full story. Start to finish, not to correct the record, but to close the book. I ended it like this. She lied. I forgave. We healed. And if that doesn't fit your algorithm, that's okay. Because we weren't trying to go viral, we were trying to survive. I disabled comments, turned off monetization, logged out. And for the first time since all of this began, I exhaled. A few days later, Ava texted me a picture. It was of her bookshelf. On it sat 2 frames. One held a photo of the 2 of us at the pond. The other held a quote. It read, "Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means choosing who you want to be after it does." Underneath, she'd handwritten one word, daughter. Part 6. Just when I thought it was over, someone else took the mic. Things had finally begun to settle. Ava was healing, not just pretending to, but genuinely building a new life. The kind of life that didn't need followers or filters. One where she made peace with being seen not as perfect, but as present. We had coffee most Sundays now. No cameras, no posts, just conversation. She told me about a book she was reading on forgiveness. I told her about a documentary I'd watched on resilience. We were, for the first time in years, speaking the same language. But peace is a fragile thing, and some people don't want it to last. It started with a message request. An anonymous Instagram account. No profile picture, no followers. Just one sentence in all caps. "You think she told you everything?" At first, I ignored it. People try to stir the pot, especially when you take the fire away from their chaos. It's attention addiction. But the next day, I got an email from a real address with a subject line I couldn't ignore. From someone who knows Chloe. Inside was a letter. Long, rambling, emotional. A woman named Renee claimed to be Chloe's former roommate. She said she had watched everything unfold between Ava and me, and had something she couldn't keep to herself anymore. She claimed Chloe wasn't just encouraging Ava to lie. She orchestrated it, fed her stories, taught her what words triggered the most engagement, even threatened to cut Ava off from the movement if she ever tried to walk it back. Attached was a voice memo, and that's when my blood turned cold. It was Chloe's voice, unmistakable. "You need to stay in control of the narrative, Ava. You can't backpedal now. That makes us look weak. If your dad starts poking holes in it, we double down. Got it?" I didn't tell Ava right away, not because I wanted to hide it, but because I didn't know what it would do to her. She had spent months rebuilding trust, not just with me, but with herself. What would it do to her to learn that her so-called mentor wasn't just manipulative, but malicious? I needed time to think, to decide whether revenge was even worth it anymore. But fate didn't wait. 3 days later, someone leaked the recording online. Not me, not Renee. Someone else entirely, maybe someone who had access to the email. And just like that, the storm returned. This time, it wasn't just Ava in the spotlight. It was Chloe. Social media erupted. People dragged up old clips of Chloe speaking about family trauma and personal abandonment. Turns out, she'd told similar stories herself, ones that, under scrutiny, didn't hold up. Ava called me the next morning in tears. She was lying to me the whole time. I said nothing, because there wasn't anything to say that wouldn't hurt more. But Ava didn't stay silent for long. She posted again. This time she titled the video, "To the girl I thought was my friend." She didn't rant. She didn't scream. She just sat there, raw and honest. I let myself believe that Chloe cared about me. Maybe part of me needed to believe that. But I know now she cared about control, not truth, not healing, just the illusion of it. She paused, holding back tears. She didn't ruin my life. I gave her the tools, and she used them. That's on me. But what I do with those pieces now, that's mine. Then, at the end, she said something that broke me. "If you ever trusted me, please don't let this make you give up on people. Some of us are still trying." The video didn't get millions of views, but it got the right ones. Several young creators came forward, people who had once been part of Chloe's little empire. They shared their own stories, their own regret. Suddenly, a new narrative formed, not of drama, but of survival. People began to speak out, not to cancel, but to connect. And Ava became a part of something new. Not a movement, not a brand, but a conversation. One night, we had dinner at a quiet little place near the edge of town. Over cheap spaghetti and garlic bread, she said something that caught me off guard. "I want to tell the whole story someday, start to finish. Maybe in a book, maybe a podcast. But I want to own it fully." I looked up. "Even the worst parts?" She nodded. "Especially those. That's where the power is, right?" I smiled. She was learning, not how to perform, but how to live without hiding. We walked back to the car, And just before we parted, she turned to me. Do you still think about what it cost you? I paused. I used to. And now? Now I think about what it gave me back. She didn't reply. Just stepped forward and hugged me tight, like she hadn't in years. And for the first time since this whole thing began, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we weren't broken anymore. Just mended, in a new shape. We weren't who we used to be. And that was the point. There's a moment after a storm when the world just feels still. Not clean, not perfect, but possible. That's where Ava and I landed, not in some fairy tale version of father and daughter, not tied together by a big red bow, just two people who had finally taken the long way back to truth. And strangely, that was enough. 6 months had passed since Chloe's exposure. Her empire crumbled, not in a dramatic courtroom way. She didn't get arrested or dragged across the news. But the platforms dried up. The trust vanished. Her name stopped trending because people stopped listening. Ava never gloated, not once. She said something that stuck with me. She gave me a story to tell, but I gave myself the ending. And that ending wasn't revenge. It was release. Ava started something unexpected that fall. A community group. She called it the Reframe Room. It wasn't about healing influencers or rebuilding reputations. It was just a quiet space, online and off, where people could share the moments they weren't proud of and what they'd learned from them. No branding, no sponsors, just conversations. Real ones. And people showed up, not for Ava, the former liar turned content creator, but for Ava, the flawed human who dared to start again. We spent Thanksgiving together, our first one in years. No audience, no scripts. Just a tiny table, 2 plates, and one awkwardly overcooked turkey that we both tried to pretend wasn't dry. At one point, she reached across and took my hand. I know I can't fix what I broke, she said, but I want you to know, I finally understand what I lost. I squeezed her hand gently. And what did you lose? I asked. She looked down and then up. You. I nodded. But you found me again, I said. And this time, she said, smiling, I'm not letting go. Weeks later, she invited me to one of her Reframe meetings. I said no, at first. Told her it wasn't my kind of thing. But she insisted. Said they were doing a session about family wounds and that maybe someone needed to hear a father's voice. So I went. The room was small, dimly lit, folding chairs in a circle. People shared stories. Some heartbreaking, others awkwardly funny. And then Ava looked at me and said, Dad, would you like to share something? I hesitated. But then, I did. I told them about the time I found the fake letter Ava wrote, the one that made me question everything. I told them how much I hated myself for believing it, and how much it hurt when I realized I wasn't just angry at her. I was angry at the version of me that let it happen. Then I said this, but the thing about lies is, they're heavy. And when someone finally puts them down, you don't punish them for carrying them. You thank them for letting go. The room was silent, not awkward, grateful. After that, something shifted between us. Not a fix, a freedom. We didn't have to tiptoe anymore. We made mistakes, forgot plans, snapped at each other once or twice. But we always came back, always talked. One evening, while watching an old home video of her 6th grade science fair, Ava turned to me and said something I'll never forget. I think I hated you back then, because you were the only one who didn't give up on me. And I wasn't ready to be saved. I laughed. A strange way to say thank you. She rolled her eyes. Don't get used to it. We still don't talk much about the videos, the viral clips, the fallout. It happened. We lived it. It doesn't define us anymore. Sometimes I'll see her quietly walking home from the bookstore she works at now. Here be. No camera, no followers watching, just her, my daughter, whole. And one day, when she's ready, she says she might write the full story. Not the dramatized version, not the scandal, just the truth. Raw, ugly, and redemptive. The kind of truth that doesn't sell fast, but lasts longer. Before I wrap this, let me say something to you. The one listening. You might be in the middle of a storm right now. Maybe you're the one who's been lied to, or maybe you're the one who lied. Maybe you lost someone, or maybe you're the one who left. But no matter where you are in your story, remember this. It's not over. Not if you choose something different tomorrow. You don't need to go viral to be seen. You don't need to be perfect to come home. You just need to start again. And if this story meant something to you, tell me where you're listening from. Drop it in the comments. And if you're still here, maybe hit subscribe. We've got more stories to tell. Real ones. Stories that hurt. Stories that heal. Stories that remind you you're not alone. Not now. Not ever.